The Class 220 and the Class 221 is a 4 or 5 coach diesel-electric multiple unit. Built by Bombardier Transportation in Bruges, Belgium, which the LOVs of LT1 were manufactured there. In real life, the trains are presently operated by Cross Country and Avanti West Coast. In SCR, the trains are currently operated by Stepford Express. They can be seen serving places such as Stepford Central, St Helens Bridge, Benton, Morganstown, Leighton Stepford Road, Leighton City, which has a signal failure, Headmead, West Wyvern without collision, North Shore, and Lynn by the Sea. So what is the history of the Class 220 and the Class 221 on Stepford County Railway? Let's find out. The Class 220 and Class 221 had its first appearance on 2 sneak peeks, one that has a special on the destination board and the other being 2 Class 221s and a Class 220 at Stepford Central. The trains were added during Patch 6, which is the 10 million update on 16th of April 2020. The Class 220 has a corporate express livery while the Class 221 has a livery that commemorates SCR reaching 10 million visits. The Class 220 and Class 221, when first released on Patch 6, was a next-generation V2 or constructive solid geometry or CSG. The Class 220 and Class 221 has its max speed of 125 miles per hour. The trains is cost at 2,200 points. Once you purchase the Class 220, the Class 221 is included at no cost. Because of that, at the time of release, the Class 801 has slightly decreased its popularity. However, the Class 801 is still preferred by most players after the update. Since the Stepford Express rebrand happened in October 2020, most players had rumored that the Class 220 and 221 would receive the mesh model just as their other express trains like the HST and the Class 801. And on the 27th of February 2022, Managing Director Charlie_RBX had posted a sneak peek of the anticipated Class 220/221 mesh upgrade. And on the same day, the Class 220 and 221 mesh model was released alongside the anticipated Class 380 on SCR version 1.8.3 update. When the Class 220 and 221 mesh model was released on the same day, the popularity and usage of the Class 801 had decreased. This is because at that time, drivers flood the express using these trains. However, the usage of the Class 801 has increased slightly and still prefers it as a starter train for express.
By the Sea. This train is formed of 5 coaches. First class is located at the front of the train.
Now we just finished the topic about the history of these units. Let's talk about the details of the Class 220 and 221. The Class 220 and 221 are the same train altogether, with the exception of number of coaches and a different bogie design, with the 220 using inside frames, which expose the whole of wheel faces, while the Class 221 had a more traditional outside framed bogie. The Class 221 has a hydraulic actuated tilting system to run around bends and curves. Avanti West Coast is the remaining operator to use its tilting system, as Cross Country disabled the tilting system to reduce costs. In SCR, this tilt system cannot be implemented due to complexity. The Class 220 and the Class 221 used to have the SCR logo on the front of the train, similar to the Class 331 and the Class 195. The logo was replaced with the Stepford Express logo when the 220 and 221 was upgraded to NGV3. On the Class 221, in real life, there are 4 car variants of this train which is currently used by Cross Country. However, they are very rare and are not available in SCR. In version 1.8.2, this train's door sounds were changed, but it was not mentioned in the changelog. This was not released with the NGV3 mesh model upgrade in version 1.8.3, though it might be possible that the NGV3 upgrade was also meant to be released in version 1.8.2, but was delayed. Let's listen to the new door sounds. The reception of the meshed 220 and 221 is mixed. Some have said that the upgrade is good, but some criticized the mesh model due to its odd appearance on the front. This is because the livery wraps around onto the front, which makes the buffers look worse. This is similar to the way people criticized the NGV2 Class 707. However, the upgrade of the Class 220 and 221 has led to Stepford Express becomes the first operator in SCR to have a fully meshed fleet. Most people and content creators like Dweller Plays and Trainspotting Mayhem called the Class 220 and Class 221 lawnmower, or microwaves, which is the term came from the Class 321, due to its poor sound quality of these trains. Let's take a listen to the acceleration sounds of the Class 220/221. After we discuss about its description and trivia, what is the interior of the Class 220/221 Voyagers? Should I say microwaves, look like? So let's start with Standard Class. The Standard Class have 2+2 seating arrangement, with luggage racks in every coach. Toilets are located in coach A, B, and D on the Class 220, while in 221 toilets are located in coach A, C and E. The seats in Standard Class is pretty comfortable, and honestly the seats is little bit small, but that passable enough for that. Most Standard Class seats are in airline style configuration with some inner table arrangement. First Class is literal first class with 2+1 seating arrangement, with wide comfy seats, thick headrests, tables in every seats. There is a shop and board on the Class 221 units which you can buy snacks, drinks and board. The ride quality of the Class 220/221, like on all Stepford Express trains, is good enough, with only exception of the somewhat glitch which another carriage may appear suddenly during speeds of 125 miles per hour. Now we finished to review the passenger interior of the Class 220 and 221, we are now going to look at the cab. The cab is quite detailed. You can see the TMS screen and most buttons on the left. However, the AWS sunflower indicator is missing, which it looks weird, but anyways, the cab of the Mesh Voyager is quite close to its real-life counterpart. Weirdly enough, players can strangely enter the cab of this train since it was upgraded to NGV3. The same applies to the Class 220 and also Class 143 Pacer on Waterline. The future of the Class 220/221 is still bright, as they have been recently upgraded to mesh model and also starting to become common to see on Stepford Express, much like the Class 801, but we can probably make a joke for a new express train. Stepford Express had ordered some Class 180s to supplement its Voyager and HST fleet, but if you ride on those trains,
you'll be going nowhere.
And this is the conclusion of the topic about the Class 220 and 221. But before you go, did you have this train? Or did you have experience riding the Voyagers both on SCR and real life? Leave us your thought by leaving a comment.